The outer rings of the Oran scrapyards were vast and deadly. Toxic mist rolled like gray tides between shattered haulers, derelict battlecruisers, and mountains of corroded tech. Most humans wouldn't set foot out there, not without full rebreathers, heat dampeners, and at least one weapon in hand. Elias Turner, however, made it his daily grind. He wasn't a soldier or a bounty hunter. He was a scavenger, one of the few humans living in the Oran Freeport on the edge of the frontier zone. It was a hard, lonely life, but it paid. Rare alloys, AI cores, and fusion cells from the wreckage fetched good credits in the right black markets. Elias was just climbing onto a rusted Gonti cargo crate when he heard it. It was faint. Barely there over the hiss of gas escaping from a broken coolant pipe nearby. He paused, thinking maybe it was the metal shifting beneath him. Then again, knock knock. He froze. His breath puffed inside the fogged visor of his suit. No one should be out here. The mist could flay flesh from bone in hours. Yet that sound, timid, repeated, was coming from the sealed container in front of him. Heart racing, Elias pressed an ear to the surface. It was definitely inside. Weak and uneven but insistent. He gritted his teeth, pried his crowbar from his belt, and jammed it into the container's lock seam. It creaked and groaned, resisting, then finally hissed open with a burst of stale air. What he saw inside was not what he expected. Woman. Or at least something close. She was crumpled at the far wall, arms shackled, skin pale with faint luminescent lines tracing down her neck and arms. She looked up slowly, eyes a deep violet rimmed with golden flecks, alien unmistakably. Her lips parted, and when she spoke, it was in a hoarse whisper. Not trash. Elias didn't know what made him act. Conscience, curiosity, or maybe it was the broken way she said those words. But he dropped his crowbar and reached for her restraints. She collapsed into his arms, light and trembling. Her breathing was ragged. Whatever species she was, her body was malnourished and borderline hypothermic. He had no idea how long she'd been locked inside. The container itself was unmarked. No insignia, no logs, no identification. Elias carried her back to his hover hauler and kicked the engine into high burn. The toxic mist swallowed them as he raced toward his hab-pod on the outskirts of Freeport 9. It was hours before she stirred again. Elias sat beside her makeshift cot, watching her sleep under a thermal blanket, medical nanites injected into her bloodstream just minutes after they arrived. Her skin had more color now. Pale lavender, not human but not fully alien either. Her hair shimmered faintly like light through water. When she finally opened her eyes, she looked at him for a long moment before speaking. "You saved me." He nodded. "Yeah, you not." I answered. "You shouldn't have." "Why?" She turned her face away. "Because now they'll come for you too." The middle, secrets in the wreckage. Over the next few days, Elias learned a little more about her. Her name, or the closest human phonetic version, was Saelari. She had no record in any known interstellar database. No match on bioscans. But what she lacked in documents, she made up for in mysteries. She ate little, spoke even less, and spent long hours staring at the sky through his narrow ceiling window. When she finally did open up, it was in bursts. Fragments. "I was part of a shipment. Not cargo. Not willingly. Who sent you here?" "No one. I was discarded." "Why? What are you?" "Silence." Elias had seen a lot in his time. Cybernetic refugees, gene-spliced hybrids, even synthetic humans. But Saelari was different. Her blood reacted to metal. When she brushed her fingers against an old AI chip, it flickered to life. When he tested her reflexes, she moved faster than his med scanner could register. The most unnerving moment came 3 nights later. He walked in to find her standing barefoot beside his disassembled reactor core. The nanofusion drive had been dead for months, but it was glowing, powering up. What are you doing?" She turned slowly, her eyes now fully golden. "I remember now," she whispered. "What I was." Saelari had not been born. She had been built. Not a machine, not exactly. She had been grown, an engineered being of an ancient civilization that predated known galactic empires. She was not the only one. There had been others, vessels she called them, made to interface with lost technology, to awaken machines, to speak with warships, sleeper satellites, and things that no species should ever tamper with again. "I was found by pirates," she said, sitting across from Elias in the warm glow of a repaired heater. "They used me to unlock weapons, systems they didn't understand. When I refused to continue, they locked you up. They called me broken, worthless, trash." He clenched his jaw. The rage burned in his gut. "And now, they'll come looking, not for me, but for what I know." That night, the sky over Freeport 9 changed. A black ship drifted into orbit. No ID, no beacons, no registry. The station's defense systems didn't even blink. The airwaves filled with static. And then, a message on an old encrypted band Elias hadn't heard in years. "Unit X. 17. Confirm presence. Return the asset." Elias stood beside Saelari as they watched the transmission scroll across the old monitor. She was trembling again. "I can't go back," she whispered. "You won't," he said. "But you'll die if you try to stop them." "Maybe. But I'm tired of watching the strong throw people away like trash. I've done it too long out here. Not this time." She looked at him, really looked, and said, "You're different." He didn't answer. Instead, he began prepping the hauler. Old weapons, EMP charges, and a shield array cobbled together from half-dead fusion cores. It wasn't a warship, but it didn't need to be. It just needed to survive long enough. The ending, rise of the vessel. They came at dawn. A sleek, silent drop craft hovered over the scrapyard. Figures in black armor moved with machine-like precision, armed with coil rifles and pulse lances. Their voices were cold, synthesized. "Return the vessel, or be erased." Elias stood at the entrance to his hab-pod, holding nothing but a plasma torch and a home-built rifle. Saelari stood behind him, her hands glowing faintly with threads of energy. He grinned. "You picked the wrong junkyard." The first wave hit hard. Plasma bolts lit the air. But Elias had prepared well. Detonators under the ground, turret drones from dismantled hunter drones, and Saelari's strange ability to awaken machines. Old warbits stirred beneath the soil. Cannons long dead hissed back to life. Elias saw her lift her hands and speak in a language older than time. And the scrapyard roared. The pirates fell back in confusion as their own weapons turned against them. Elias moved through the smoke like a ghost, taking out targets with precision honed by years of surviving in the galaxy's waste. At the center of it all, Saelari stood tall, her skin now glowing like starlight, eyes alight with power. Machines bent toward her. Systems obeyed her voice. She wasn't just a tool, she was a queen of lost machines. And they were her army. When the last of the pirates fled back to orbit, their ship cracked and flaming, Saelari collapsed. Elias caught her, holding her as her glow faded. "You didn't have to fight," he said quietly. "I did," she whispered. "Because someone believed I wasn't trash."